Yesterday at the very beginning, there was the three outline at the very beginning, and then within the second outline, which is explaining that the actual text itself, then there was again the outline which says how to engage in the path, and after engaging with the path, how to achieve the result, the fully enlightened state. So now it's coming to that second outline of that.
Un tad vakardienā, kad mēs minējām tādu ieskatu, kā šis teksts ir sadalīts tādiem satura punktiem, un mēs minējām arī to sadaļu, kas var aplūkots kā meditēšana ceļā, apgaismības sasniegšanu, un tagad mēs tuvojamies šai pašai sadaļai, kā sasniegt to šī teksta mērķi.
So within that, again, there's two outlines, which first is explaining how fully enlightened state the result is possible, and then the second, how to achieve that result.
Un tā kā ir divi apakšsadalījumi, kā ir iespējams sasniegt, kā ir iespējama pilnīga apgaismības stāvokļa sasniegšana, un faktiski otrā sadaļa, kā to izdarīt.
So then here it goes, Shariputra, therefore because there is no attainment, the bodhisattvas rely on and dwell in the perfection of wisdom, the mind without obscuration, without fear. Yeah.
Un tādējādi Šariputra, tā kā bodhisattvām nav sasniegšanas, bodhisattvas paļaujas un mīt gudrības pilnveidošanā ar neaptumšotu prātu un bezbēdām.
Having completely passed beyond the ego, they reach the end point of nirvana. So, yeah.
Pilnīgi aizgājuši viņpus kļūdīšanās, viņi sasniedz galpunktu nirvānu.
So again here, what is explained is that the bodhisattvas, by relying on and dwelling on the practice of the bodhicitta and the wisdom, understanding the emptiness directly and correctly, with that, by dwelling on this, and with that the bodhicitta and the wisdom, and through the engaging in the practice of perfection and so forth, that they can achieve the Mahayana Nirvana, non-abiding Nirvana, the fully enlightened state, without any obscuration, without any fear, that is possible. So it is then, yeah.
Un tad ir paskaidrots, ka bodhisattvas nonāk pie pilnīgi apgaismotas stāvokļa, paļaujoties uz bodhicitu un gudrības pilnveidošanu. Un tad meditējot par to un veicot visas šīs 6 pilnveidošanās ir iespējams sasniegt pilnu mahāyāna samgaismību.
Again, as I mentioned before, when we were talking about the Four Noble Truth, it is saying because it is possible on one level, because all these obscurations, delusions, and even the imprint left by the delusions are unstable and unreliable, because they are based on the ignorance. And the ignorance is not stable, because it's based on, it's not based on truth, it's based on false. So therefore, one is unreliable. The very foundation of these delusions, the ignorance, is very unreliable, unstable, because it is that ignorance built on unstable foundations of false, not the truth. On the other hand, the wisdom understanding emptiness, which is the opposing energy force of the ignorance, the antidote, the remedy, is based on the truth of the reality of the phenomenon. So therefore, in a long term, when there is kind of confrontation between two forces, one which is based on truth, one which is based on false, then eventually the truth will always win, come. Sometimes it takes more times, more energies, a lot of effort, but it is always at the end, the truth will prevail on the false.
Un kādā veidā ir iespējams atbrīvoties no visiem piesārņojumiem, traucējušām emocijām un tā tālāk. Tas ir iespējams tāpēc, ka neziņa savā būtībā nav kaut kas patiess un patiess no savas puses pastāvošs. Neziņa ir balstīta uz nepatiesiem faktiem, līdz ar to ir iespējams apgāzt un no tās ir iespējams atbrīvoties. Un savukārt no otras puses tukšums ir realitātei atbilstošs un ar tukšumu izpratnes spēku ir iespējams atbrīvoties no neziņas. Un tādējādi ilgtermiņā skatoties, ja ir divi spēki, kas pretdarbojas viens otram, un viens no tiem nav balstīts patiesībā, nav balstīts realitātē, tad tas spēks, ja tas tiek pielikts, kurš ir balstīts realitātē, tas pārmāks un iznīcinās to, kas nav balstīts realitātē.
Also, the other obstacles or interference for achieving Mahāyāna Nirvana or fully enlightened state is the self-centeredness or self-cherishing thought. Again, also for that there is the antidote, the opposing energy of the compassion, which opposes that energy of the self-cherishing thought. So as we develop that energy stronger and stronger, the negative force or energy of the self-cherishing thought become weak and eventually to be able to overcome totally.
Un otrs traucēklis, kas liedz mums nonākt pie pilnas mahāyāna samgaismības, ir uz sevi iecentrētā uzmanība, pašlološana, un to var iznīcināt ar līdzjūtību. Jo vairāk mēs atsakāmies no šīs pašlolojušās domas, aizstājot to ar patiesu līdzjūtību, jo līdzjūtība kļūst spēcīgāka un šī pašlološana doma arī vājāka.
And also compassion, which is the basis for the loving kindness and compassion, which is the basis of the bodhicitta, is also very basic human nature, whereas self-centered, self-centeredness, selfishness, and anger, and all others, mistrust, and so forth. All those negative delusions or negative energies are not the basic nature of the human or sentient beings. Is more kind of accumulated over the time with the information, environment, and so forth around that. So therefore, if you go to the very basic nature of the humanity and sentient beings, the loving compassion is there. So therefore, again, because of that, that being the very basic nature, that it can overcome all this other negative energy which we have accumulated because of, not because of basic nature, but because of the external conditions, environment, and so forth.
Un tāpat, ja mēs paskatāmies dziļākā līmenī, tad patiesībā mīlošā labestība un līdzjūtība ir tas, kas ir jūtošo būtņu pašā kodolā, pašā dabiskajā stāvoklī. Savukārt centrēšanās uz sevi un šī pašlūkošana, tas ir uzkrājies tikai ilgstoša laika gaitā, noteikti apstākļu ietekmē, un pašlūkošana nav dabiskā stāvokļa sastāvdaļa. Tā kā arī tādā ziņā līdzjūtība ir cilvēku jūtošo būtņu dabiskais stāvoklis.
So, if you summarize, fully enlightenment or Mahayana Nirvana is possible on the most subtle foundation levels, that our mind, as well as all the delusions, are not inherently existent. Since they are not inherently existent, they can be changed, they can be transformed.
Un ja mēs dziļākajā līmenī palūkojamies uz visām traucējušajām emocijām un maldīgiem prāta stāvokļiem, tad mēs varam redzēt, ka tie nav dabiskā apziņas stāvokļa sastāvdaļa, un līdz ar to no tiem ir iespējams atbrīvoties.
And then, secondly, the basic fundamental mind, nature of the mind, as I said before, is pure, luminous, and clear, and not polluted in the nature by the delusions.
Un apziņas dabiskais stāvoklis ir tīrs, zinošs un nepiesārņots, un tas ir brīvs no visiem traucēkļiem.
And then also our basic nature is more compassion than more evilness.
Un arī mūsu patiesā daba ir vairāk līdzjūtīga, nevis ļauna.
And then there is antidotes towards all those delusions and all, including the ignorant, self-cherishing thought, the antidotes such as the right wisdom, understanding of emptiness, bodhicitta, and all those positive state of mind realization, which act as an antidote, as opposing forces to those negative forces.
Un visiem negatīviem prāta stāvokļiem ir sava pretlīdzekļa, kuras var izmantot, lai atbrīvotos no šiem traucējošiem prāta stāvokļiem.
So therefore, from potential point of view, there is absolutely the potential to overcome all these negativities, all these obscurations, and to achieve the fully enlightened state.
Un tādējādi ir iespējams atbrīvoties no visiem traucējušiem prāta stāvokļiem, attīrīt savu prātu no piesārņojumiem un sasniegt pilnīgi apgaismotu stāvokli.
So it is a matter of creating the right cause and conditions and putting effort to apply and integrate the practices in our life.
Un tad viss, kas ir jāizdara, ir vienkārši jārada pareizie cēloņi un apstākļi un jāpieliek pūles, lai to īstenot.
So when it says the mind without obscuration, without fear, it refers to the obscurations of the four obscurations, such as even though conditioned things are impermanent, seeing it as a permanent. Even though all the contaminated things are in the nature of suffering or dissatisfactions, seeing it as a nature of happiness or satisfactions. Even though all the phenomena are selfless or emptiness, seeing it as a self and as a truly existence. And even though samsaric nature is kind of unpleasant, seeing it as a pleasant. So these are the four kind of obscurations. So without all these obscurations, and particularly the obscurations of seeing all the things, grasping the ignorance, grasping all the phenomena as truly or inherently existence. So without that obscurations, yeah.
Un tā teksta daļa ar neaptumšotu prātu attiecās uz 4 aptumšojumiem, un proti, kaut arī fenomeni ir pastāv nosacītā, noteiktā veidā, mēs redzam tos kā patstāvīgus, neatkarīgus no tiem apstākļiem un cēloņiem, kas tos ir noteikuši. Tas ir viens piesārņojums. Otrs piesārņojums ir tas, ka kaut arī visi piesārņotie fenomeni var radīt tikai neapmierinātību, mums šķiet, ka tie var radīt laimi un apmierinātību. Trešais aptumšojums ir tas, ka kaut arī patiesībā visi fenomeni ir tukši no pašnoteiktas eksistences. Mēs redzam tos kā patiesi no savas puses pastāvošus. Un 4. aptumšojums ir kaut arī samsārs kā daba pēc būtības nevar būt apmierinoši. Mēs uzskatām un domājam, ka tā var mūs apmierināt.
And without a fear means without a fear of the emptiness. understand the realization of emptiness, then there is no fear in the emptiness. There is no fear in contemplating on the emptiness. Whereas if we don't have the correct understanding at the very beginning, for some people, they can develop a fear of to the emptiness or contemplating on emptiness. When they see the dissolving of the self, where we have hold it so strongly, so concretely, in such intense way.
Un frāze bez bailēm attiecās uz pareizu tukšumu skatījumu, jo no vienas puses pareizs tukšuma skatījums ir tāds, ar tādu stāvokli, kurā bailes nepastāv, un no otras puses, ja tukšuma izpratne nav pareiza, tad var rasties bailes, kas notiks ar šo es, kuru mēs šķietami zaudējam.
And in some of the commentaries, it explains like when we engage in the practice such as the practice of space-like emptiness meditation, at the very beginning, of course, some people, they can develop a strong fear because they feel like their whole personality, their whole identity, the whole who you think you are is kind of dissolved into it, dissolved which you believe so strongly and so hold so tightly before. So there is kind of fear of that. At the very beginning, sometimes people can develop such a fear. But someone who has trained themselves in that practice meditation over the time, when they go into that state of the meditation or contemplations, it gives them a great joy, great bliss instead of fear. It leads them to an incredible blissfulness, incredible joyfulness with that kind of meditation contemplations.
Tas bieži vien ir paskaidrots, kad mēs runājam par tukšumam līdzīgās meditācijas veikšanu, ka tad, kad pakāpeniski visas meditācijas laikā izšķīst, reizēm var rasties bailes, kas tad notiks ar to es un mūsu patījumu, kas arī sāk izgaist, bet ja šo praksi veic pareizi, atkārtot un ilgstoši, tad praktizētāji šīs meditācijas laikā baiļu vietā izjūt ļoti patīkamu stāvokli.
And of course, all the fear, whatever we have in our life, so many fears in our life, all the time.
Protams, arī kopumā dzīves laikā mēs bieži vien sastopamies ar dažādām bailēm.
Fear of yourself, fear of your so many things in your life, fear of not getting what you want, fear of losing what you have, fear of getting what you don't want or encountering what you don't want, and same thing, the fear of not getting what your friends, family wants. the fear of losing of things that your family, friends have, the fear of them encountering difficult problem, pain, which they don't want, and then the fear of your enemies, that they might create obstacles, harm, problem to yourself, your family, friends, so forth. The fear of them being prosperity, happiness, joy, and not yourself, and so forth. There are so many kind of fear. Our life is kind of driven by so much fear. Sometimes it's much more obvious, sometimes it's much more subtle, but constantly in that kind of state of being fear is so strong in our life.
Un patiesībā mūsu dzīvē mēdz būt ļoti daudz un dažādas bailes. Piemēram, mums var būt bail par sevi, vai ar mums viss būs kārtībā, mums var būt bailes un raizes par to, vai ar mūsu īpašumiem, mūsu mantām viss būs kārtībā, vai kā mēs nedabūsim to, kas mums šobrīd nav, bet ko mums ļoti gribās, no plašākā līmenī. Mums ir bail tikai pašiem par sevi un savām lietām, bet par tuvnieku, veselību vai piedarumiem un tā tālāk. Un tad mums atkal ir bail no ienaidniekiem, ka viņi mums varētu nodarīt kaut ko tādu, kas varētu mums skaitēt, vai atkal mums ir bāzes un reizes par to, ka ienaidniekiem tagad būs kaut kas labāks nekā ar mums un tā tālāk. Mēs negribam, lai viņi pie tā tiek. Un patiesībā ļoti lielu mūsu dzīves daļu vada dažādu veidu bailes.
And if you look deeper where that fear comes from, if you look deeper to where the fear comes from, then it's quite obvious. Those fears come from our attachment to so many things in our life. The more attachment you have, the more fear there is. The stronger attachment, the stronger the fear is. For example, if I'm attached to certain things, whatever that might be, the more stronger attachment, the more I fear of not getting it. And if I do get it, the stronger attachment I have, the stronger fear that I have of losing it. And the stronger attachment I have, if I do lose it, it will be much more painful, devastating, overwhelming. So depending on your state of attachment, it will affect how strong, how intense your fear will become.
Ja mēs panalizējam dziļāk, kas ir šo baiļu pamatā, tad mēs nonāksim pie secinājuma, ka tam visam apakšā ir pieķeršanās. Mēs esam tik ļoti pieķērušies tam, ko mēs gribam, ka mums ir bail to pazaudēt, vai bail, kā ar to kaut kas notiks. Un jo spēcīgāk pieķeršanās, jo lielākas sāpes un ciešanas būs tajā gadījumā, ja kaut kas slikts notiks ar to, kas mums piedara, pie kā mēs esam tik ļoti pieķērušies.
So since the attachment comes out of that ignorance, so definitely when we don't have the ignorance, the weaker the ignorance, the weaker the attachment is. And so therefore when you have the correct understanding on emptiness or realizations, then of course it has weakened and and decrease the intensity of ignorance, so therefore it also affects the attachment in that way, so therefore you have less fear.
Un kas ir pieķeršanās? Pamatā pieķeršanās pastāv tāpēc, ka mums ir neziņa. Un attiecīgi, jo vairāk mēs mazinām savu neziņu, jo vājāk kļūst mūsu neziņa, jo vājāk kļūst mūsu pieķeršanās, un jo mazāk mums ir baiļu. Tā kā attiecīgi atbrīvoties no neziņas, mēs varam atbrīvoties no bālēm.
Also, if we observe ourselves, also we notice that the more stronger sense of we have about the self, the more stronger sense you have about the self, inherently existing self, truly existing self, then again you have much more stronger fear of not having the happiness for yourself or prosperity, success for yourself, and the fear of encountering pain, suffering, obstacles, problem in your life. The less sense of self that you have, when you have less intense, strong sense of self, or that self-grasping ignorance, then the less you have fear of facing the difficulties, sufferings, and losing the happiness and so forth. And so again, you see how the ignorance of that self effect in terms of how we experience level of the fear, intensity, strong, more fear, less fear, yeah.
Un, atkarībā no tā, cik spēcīga ir mūsu es sajūta, jo spēcīgāk ir mūsu es sajūta, jo vairāk mēs kaut kam pieķeramies, jo vairāk mums ir bailes, uztraukumi, vai ar mums viss būs kārtībā, vai ar mūsu slavu un status viss būs kārtībā un tā tālāk. Bet jo vairāk mēs mazinām šo savu es sajūtu, jo vairāk mazinās negatīvie prāta stāvokļi.
And again, when due to that ignorance, when we have much more stronger sense of self, also there is much stronger sense of my family, my friends, my enemy, that also increases. That also is more intense, more stronger. The stronger you have sense of me, I, due to that ignorance, also it is more stronger in sense of my, which come from that self. The more sense of my friends, enemies, and so forth. On the basis of that more stronger feeling of that, then again, there's stronger fear as well.
Un, jo spēcīgāk ir mūsu neziņa, jo spēcīgāk ir šī mūsu es sajūta, un jo spēcīgāk ir šī es sajūta, jo atkal spēcīgāk ir tā sajūta par mani draugi, mani ienaidnieki. Un atkal tas rada iespējas, ka mūsu bailes kļūs lielākas, piemēram, no ienaidniekiem, vai par to, ko mēs gribam, un tā tālāk.
So, the bodhisattvas, through cultivations of the bodhicitta, and at the very beginning, in the first two path, the path accumulation preparations, having the realizations of emptiness, correctly realizing it, but on conceptual level, and as they continue to contemplate, meditate, then able to have the direct understanding without any conceptuality. And again, as they continue to and then achieve the path of seeing, and again, while you are in path of seeing, you continue to meditate, contemplate, practice over and over. Eventually, your wisdom and your realizations started to become more sharper, more stronger and stronger, and then achieve the path of meditations. And at the path of seeing, you eliminate the gross obscurations. At the path of meditations, then you started to apply antidotes through that wisdom, antidotes toward the innate obscurations, starting with more gross and subtle in 9 stages. So when you do that, then definitely through that practice, you are by the last stages of path of meditation, then you are able to overcome all the obscurations, the most subtle obscurations. And so when you have done that, there is no obscuration at all. No obscurations at all. And when you don't have those obscurations, such as the ignorance, self-cherishing thoughts, so forth, there is no fear at all to anything. There is no fear at all. So, with that, without that obscuration, without fear, then they are able to reach the state of Mahayana Nirvana, which is free from being the state of samsara or being in a state of individual blissfulness. So one is able to achieve that, which is the state beyond, without any error, without any fault, without any negativities, without any defect. And the complete, perfect state of being. So I think that is what it means by what we just, yeah.
Un lūkumā tas, uz ko attiecās tā tekstā, ko mēs lasījām, tas attiecās tas apraksta bodhisattvas ceļos pilnīgi apgaismīgi. Vispirms tātad uzkrāšanas un sagatavošanas posmā tiek radīta konceptuāla izpratne par tukšumu un cer to atkārtot. Meditējot, ir jānonāk pie tiešas tukšuma izpratnes, un tad jau redzēšanas ceļā atkal un atkal ir jāmeditē, jāpārdomā, jāpraktizē, un tikmēr, kamēr gudrība un realizācijas kļūst arvien spēcīgākas un skaidrākas. Un šajā redzēšanas ceļā tiek iznīcināti visi rupjie aptumšojumi, un tālāk jau nākošajā meditācijas ceļā tiek izmantoti pretlīdzekļi pret smalkākiem iekšējiem aptumšojumiem, un pēdējos posmos jau visi aptumšojumi, tā skaitā neziņa, bailes, sevis lološana un tā tālāk, tie visi tiek iznīcināti līdz vairs nepaliek neviens vismazākais aptumšojums, un tad gala beigās ir iespējams sasniegt šo mahajānas nirvānu, kas ir stāvoklis, kas ir pilnīgi brīvs no samsāras un aiz jebkādām ciešanām un nepilnībām.
Then all the Buddhas who dwell in the three times also manifestly, completely awaken to the unsurprisable, perfect and complete enlightenment in reliance on perfection and wisdom.
Visi Buddhas, kas mīt trijos laikos sasnieguši pilnu nepārspējamo pilnīgu apgaismību sapmodu, paļaujoties uz dzīvo vadības pilnveidošanu.
Again, it is explaining how important of relying on the perfection of wisdom, cultivating the wisdom, understanding the emptiness in order to achieve fully enlightened state. Again, of course, it's not enough just to have the wisdom understanding emptiness. You also need the bodhicitta as well. Not only bodhicitta, but you also absolutely need the wisdom understanding emptiness. So it's saying, in the past, all the Buddhas of the 10 directions, not just one Buddha, two Buddhas, but each and every Buddha who have achieved fully enlightened state, they are able to achieve fully enlightened state by relying on the perfection of wisdom. Those Buddhas, the present Buddhas who have achieved enlightenment, fully enlightened, perfect enlightened state, they also rely on the wisdom, the perfection of wisdom to achieve that. In all the future Buddhas, they will rely on the perfect wisdom, the perfection of wisdom in order to achieve fully enlightened state. If that is the case, then it is saying also everyone who wants to achieve fully enlightened state also have to rely on perfection of wisdom if you want to do that.
Un te atkal tiek uzsvērts, ka lai sasniegtu pilnīgu apgaismību, ir nepieciešama šī gudrā, dziļā gudrības pilnveidošana, jeb tukšums, bet vienlaikus, kaut arī tas ir uzsvērts, mums jāsaprot, ka ar to vien paši nepietiek, ir nepieciešama arī bodhicitta. Bet, kurā gadījumā, tas ir pateikts, ka visi Buddhas, kas ir bijuši pirms esošajiem, viņi ir paļaujušies uz gudrības pilnveidošanu. Šobrīd esošie tagadnes Buddhas arī ir izmantojuši gudrības pilnveidošanu, un arī visi nākotnes Buddhas izmantos gudrības pilnveidošanu. Tātad, ja mēs vēlamies sasniegt pilnīgi Buddhas stāvokli, ir jāpaļaujās un jāizmanto šī dziļā gudrības pilnveidošana.
And I think when you explain, like you often see, like also in many of the prayers practice, perfectly completed awakened state of the Buddha. Again, here it is explaining that perfectly, in a sense, you can say that the Buddha has overcome and eliminated, abandoned all the negativities, all the obscuration there is to be abandoned. So not only the delusion and negative karma, but also the most subtle obscurations, the obscuration of knowledge, or sometimes we call obscuration to become omniscient, all-knowing, which is the most subtle obscurations. So Buddha has perfectly eliminated all of them, and completely what they have completed is all the positive energy, knowledge, positive qualities that there is to be collected, to be developed, has been developed. Not only highest level of wisdom, but highest level of compassion. Not only highest level of compassion and wisdom, highest level of skillful means. So yeah, so has completed everything that is needed to complete in order to benefit each and every sentient being in the most beneficial way. Yeah.
Šeit un citos tekstos, kad mēs redzam, ka ir runāts par pilnīgi apgaismības sasniegšanu, tas nozīmē, ka Buddhas ir atbrīvojušies no visiem negatīvajiem stāvokļiem, faktoriem un attīstījuši ne tikai šo te gudrības aspektu, bet arī līdzjūtību, izkopošu līdz pilnībai visus prasmīgos līdzekļus, ar ko palīdzību, principā visu, ar kā palīdzību ir iespējams palīdzēt visām jūtošajām būtnēm.
Here the commentary says why all the Buddhas of 3 times of the Buddha need to rely on the perfection of wisdom in order to achieve fully enlightened state. In terms of the sources on that, authentic sources, in one of the sutras, here is here it says all the victorious, which means Buddhas of past and futures of 10 directions, all will rely on the path for perfection of wisdom and not others.
Un tad teksts, ko citē šis komentārs, saka, ka visi pagātnes un nākotnes uzvarētāji, kas nozīmē Buddhas, ir paļāvušies uz pilnveidošanās ceļu.
Then here it says not only the path of the perfection of wisdom is needed to achieve enlightenment, it is necessary even to achieve the arhat of solitary realizers or the arhat of hearer, all of them, to achieve their own spiritual ultimate goal. They all need to actualize and rely on the perfection of wisdom. Not perfection of wisdom. Not perfection of wisdom. The wisdom understanding the emptiness.
Un šis teksts saka, ka gudrības vai tukšuma izpratne ir nepieciešama ne tikai, lai kļūtu par Budām, bet tas ir nepieciešams arī arhatiem, jeb vientuļajiem vienatnē, tiem, kas vienatnē sasniedz apgaismīgā realizāciju.
And I guess again, this is one of the kind of maybe we don't want to go into details. Then again, the Nagarjuna has said, saying, here Nagarjuna says, all the solitary realizers and all the Buddhas, they all rely on one path, not others. The path to liberation or nirvana, only one, and not others. So when he says only one, here he is referring to the wisdom
Nagarjuna ir teicis, ka visi gan tie realizētāji, kas sasniedz atbrīvošanos vienotnē, gan Budas, viņi visi izmanto vienu ceļu, nevis kādu no citiem ceļiem. Un, kad runa par šo vienu ceļu, tad ir runa par šo